And we are live. Welcome. I'm Terry Oracle, and this is a live stream. Normally, it's only reserved for Patreon members, but today it's for everybody. So, I give you a little preview of what you get, part of the Patreon package, what have you. Anyway, so you get time, one-on-one time with me, talking about tarot, doing tarot, interesting stuff. So, basically lessons, one-on-one lessons on how to do this, how to do that, and also handle your questions. If you have any questions on how to do a spread, or you're like, last week I had this card with that card. What do you think that meant? Or I could review your spreads and whatnot. Anyway, so that is kind of what we're doing today. But today we're doing a theme called Handling Tough Questions. And I think handling tough questions comes in different flavors. One is just tough questions that are just hard to deal with, right? Hello, Pinky. Welcome. Good to see you. Questions that are hard to deal with. And you get this a lot. Basically, somebody asking about dying, somebody asking about, I lost all my money. Somebody is going to the casino and where should I be gambling on and stuff like that. Second flavor of hard questions is questions that can get you sued. Like, I really don't want to take my medication. Should I go ahead and take them anyway? Or something where you rely on a professional rather than a tarot reader, for example, a doctor or a lawyer or a financial analyst or something like that, right? You basically, as a tarot reader, as a divinatory services person, you don't want to take the place of somebody who gets paid for their advice, somebody who went to school for 10 years and then went to residency for 5 years or whatnot. Anyway, as a general rule, it's just a bad decision. So that's why a lot of tarot readers will say no money questions, no health questions, right? Kind of eliminate those. Cheryl, welcome. Good to see you. So let's talk about handling tough questions. The first part of this, I want to kind of go through when you do get a question, what kind of things are you in for? What kind of things are you looking at? And that's sort of slide 2. Well, let's go to the back of this and kind of go over. Okay, so we're going to reference the slide a lot. Basically, I call it the levels of tarot detail. So in other words, what kind of levels do you have? At the very top, you have a very, very high level, right? You're going to have a good year. That's really high level. You're going to, everything is going to be fine. At this point, you're getting into kind of cold reading. And by the way, I'll have a cold reading lesson, so you kind of watch out for that. So if you're getting a tarot reading and everybody's using cold reading, there's a problem, right? Like you've always wanted to write a book. You've never felt like you could compete with other people, and yet you found many instances where you can compete with other people. So you don't want to avoid that crap. Anyway, super high level in the clouds. Too generic. You're going to have a great year. Okay. Sounds good, right? And I think we sort of get that sometimes with tarot readings, or sometimes we sort of make a statement, and that's not a bad statement, but if everything is in the clouds, it just sort of dulls everything. It's so generic. You're never really drilling down into anything, and overall, it's just going to be kind of a difficult situation, and nobody's really going to come back at that point, right? You got to have every reading you do, like, when will I meet my soulmate? I really think they're on the way. So you didn't even answer the question kind of thing. I really think they're kind of on the way. So you have to get into more details in order for people to be happy. The second level, this you really don't want to have, is down in the earth, right? Where you're down to the bottom ground here, where your details, right? When am I going to meet my soulmate? Well, October 5th. At 1 p.m. at Kroger. You're going to meet them in the canned food aisle. So that's obviously inherently risky. And if you're wrong, people won't come back. So on August 5th, if I go to Kroger and I'm at the canned food section, I'm like, where the hell's my soulmate? This guy sucks. At some point, that's going to be something where they just don't come back. So a lot of wrong answers. People are just not going to come back. It's also unrealistic. If you could disseminate details that level, and maybe you can sometimes. I mean, maybe you're just rocking it one day. You're just like, oh man, because I've had days like that, right? Where I'm just rocking it. I'm like this, and then people are coming back. They're like, dude, I just won like $500. I won $2,000 on a scratch off, or whatever happens, right? So sometimes you do get in that zone. So sometimes it's okay to be in this zone. Sometimes it's okay to be in the too generic, the cloud zone. You just want to kind of mostly be in the middle. of that, right? You're meeting a soulmate. I think you have a soulmate coming. It seems like a manifestation is a problem. We need to more manifest. We need to sort of get down into the roots of what do you want from a soulmate? What are you looking for? And any kind of thing, right? And you also maybe have blockages. Maybe you need to get rid of the friends with benefits that you have or something like that in order to sort of make room for the universe to provide. So it's in the middle, right? Maruta, welcome. How you doing? Lady, welcome. Good to see you. Lady's the first time here. Well, welcome, lady. Good to have you. Claire, what's going on? All right, so let's go back in time to slide 2. There we go. Slide 2. So let's talk about questions. When people ask a question, what are they asking? So you have something like one of the very popular questions: will they contact? Right? Will Fred contact me? Sheena, welcome. How you doing? So will Fred contact me? So you got to kind of ask questions at this point because you have a range of places that you could be here. Could it be a new person? So will Fred contact me? Well, is Fred a brand new person that you just met? Is this a love relationship? Is Fred the plumber that you called, a week ago? You're like, where the hell is Fred? Will Fred contact me, or do I need to find a new plumber? It could also be a love interest. It's a brand new person I met at work, gave them a number. We're waiting for them to call. So will they contact me, or are they wasting my time, right? So this is sort of where that we have to have follow-up questions to see where you're going to go. It could also be an ex. It could also be an ex sometimes. So a lot of times we miss the ex. We have, it seemed real terrible at the time, but later on, we start to forget how annoying they were. And then it feels like, hey, I could really use them in my life right now. They made a great omelet in the morning and good time in the bed, whatever. But yeah, so will they contact could also be an ex. So you got to kind of determine more questions from here, or go down the happy path of, we need to get some more information. The problem is if you're doing a stream, or, you can't talk to the individual because a stream takes time, a stream is laggy or what have you, then, you just have to sort of guess. You have to guess with it. The problem with guessing is, let's say, will they contact me? Okay, well, let's say you get the 2 of Cups, the Lovers, and the Chariot. Wow, this looks fantastic. But the reality is that they're actually in another relationship. They're pregnant. I don't know if they have a pregnancy. They have a baby due soon. They got remarried. So in that case, the 2 of Cups, the Lovers, and the Chariot may mean something totally different than the person's single or whatnot. So you need to go down a little merry path here and say, where, is this person somebody that was an ex? Is this somebody that you just met? And you get more information for that. I think that gives you a little bit better translation of the cards, because now the 2 of Cups, Lovers, Chariot means totally different situation, totally different things than if they were single and they kind of missed you too. Right. Because if they're single, they missed you too. You kind of miss them. They're an ex. Will they contact? Hey, 2 of Cups, Chariot. That look really good. Looks really nice. You got the Lovers mixed in. Looks really nice indeed. But the reality is you got to get more information. Otherwise, you're just guessing. So before you read that, get the information, or pull some more cards to get some more clarification instead of just diving in. And that makes a tough question a lot easier. Because now I pull some cards and, hey, they're in another relationship. Looks like they have a baby on the way. It just looks like something that the ex is probably not going to come back anytime soon for this. You may want to move on. Fred just isn't looking too healthy for a relationship right now, kind of thing. It also could be that, you want to get more information on the individual they just met at work. And will they call me? Will they contact? Maybe this person's in a relationship. Maybe they're not in a relationship, what have you. So you sort of get more information. And therefore, the tough question becomes a lot easier. I think that's the big thing, right? The other thing is, when will they contact? So this wording is more of an expectation, right? I already know this person. I expect a contact because I put the word when on there. So again, this could be a love relationship. Again, you got to follow up, or it could be the plumber is going to call us, or the person giving us a loan for the new house is going to call us, or what have you, right? Leslie, welcome. Good to see you. But yeah, you already know this individual. You've had the communications with this individual, and you're waiting for a contact. So the word when added to it gives it a different context or a different feel. So now it's not a matter of will they contact, yes or no, but I know they're going to contact. When will they contact? And sometimes this has some expectation involved with it again. And most of the time it's somebody that we know. So as you add words to this, when will they contact? When will they leave me alone? So something like when will they leave me alone implies bothering them. This person has been bugging them. When will they leave me alone, right? So it's more a matter of we expect it to happen. Let's find out when this is actually going to occur. So as you add words to this, you have more of a complex situation or more of a difficult question just by nature of sort of adding more layers to it. So, then you got to start asking the questions. Do they expect them to contact you? Who is this person to you? And stuff like that, just to get the level set, right? Because again, if we come up with the Two of Cups, the lovers, when will they contact? You're looking at contacting me pretty soon, right? You have cards that are in a hurry, like Eight of Wands, like the Knight of Swords, like like the Chariot. Sure, I'm more in a hurry, or I'm moving towards doing this, and therefore I have more likely things going on there with that. Whispers, welcome. Good to see you. All right, interviews and jobs. So once you have a job, you got to kind of understand where we're coming from with the interview, with the jobs. You have different layers of the job, right? So if somebody says, give me a job reading for 2022, or give me a job reading for Microsoft. I applied to Microsoft or whatever. So I applied for the job. So you have different layers on the interview process. I applied for the job. I filled it out online. I sent it in, and I'm kind of waiting for a reply at this point. So I applied. This is something that I'm waiting for. I'm expecting. So at that point, you're sort of asking, will you get an interview? Because you do have an interview process, right? Because a lot of times people just want to skip to the end. When will I get a job? And then you say August or what have you. But there's a lot more layers that they need to know for this. So this qualifies, I guess, as a multi-layered question that you got to kind of peel from the onion and sort of see where you're going to go. Number one thing you're going to do is applying for a job. Is that what you just did? Okay, so when will I get hired at Microsoft? You applied for the job. There's no interview. There's no second, third interview. There's no starting the job. There's no 90-day trial period, 90-day, period to where they just want to kind of try you out before they commit to you for many, many years. So it's also, could it be contractor versus full-time employee? Are you going to get enough hours? There's a lot of layers in this question. So you got to peel those back and get pretty specific about where you're going with this. Because I just don't want to say, when am I going to get a steady job, or when I'm going to get a job, right? That's going to be August. You just don't say that. You got to kind of figure out where they're at, where they're going, and are we going to make it through the process? Because I can see maybe a beautiful card like a Two of Cups or a Three of Pentacles, right? That could be talking about the interview. It could be talking about, but not starting the job. Maybe I have a Three of Pentacles followed by a Ten of Swords. So I get the interview is great, but the Ten of Swords are like, I just don't get the actual job. I don't get to start the job. So you kind of got to see that in the context of where we're at. Because if they are currently interviewed, waiting for a reply, waiting to start the job, they're going to be at a different level than if they just applied yesterday online. So that's going to be sort of a follow-up question, how to deal with that, all right? Because you do have different layers of that. I think that's where spreads come in. There are a lot of beautiful job spreads. Beautiful job spreads. And I'm going to come up with one of those. That's going to be my next 101 spread. Hey, double up. That's going to be my next one. I think we need a good job spread where it talks about the interview. It talks about your application. It talks about maybe your resume or where you're presenting, what you can tweak on that to make it better, right? Look at tarot for that. It talks about the interview process from start to finish, because a lot of interviews, you have 2-3 interviews. You have a phone interview with the recruiter, you got another interview with this, that. You also need a position for long-term versus short-term job, because I think that's sort of neglected in 90% of the job spreads that I see. It's difficult to get long-term, short-term job. What I say by that is I can get a 3-month contract and work the 3 months and be gainfully employed for 3 months. But after the project's over, they're going to get rid of me because it's a contract, right? So can we get rolled over into a permanent job? What kind of timelines are you looking for? How long is this job going to be? That's going to be an integral part of the spread. And again, spreads with some of these tough questions make everything so easy. That's why you have to have a rock solid set of spreads that are your go-to spreads, right? Because as far as tarot questions are concerned, of course, I'm coming up on 40,000 tarot readings by the end of this year. So 40,000 readings. Of course, I've had the weird questions. I've had somebody say that they were dying, they were terminally ill, and they wanted to know how to prepare for getting their family, to where the family needs to be for that. That's a question you normally would never get. I've had the question where, somebody's literally homeless and they're like, this is my, I'm literally homeless. I borrowed somebody's phone. So you do have really hard questions, but for the most part, you get a standard set. Love, job, career kind of thing, right? It's a lot of the same questions come up over and over and general. So you need a rock solid set of spreads, rock solid set of love spreads, job spreads, and general spreads. And there are general spreads, and you absolutely have to have a general spread, because just throwing down cards in a general reading, unless you've just done this a lot, is very confusing and it's super difficult. So having a spread to help you along, guide you in a direction, right? It's sort of a little light that sort of guides you through the nighttime road and whatnot. So getting tough questions, spreads make it a lot easier. Obviously, there's not a spread for I'm terminally ill. How do I prepare for my family for me leaving? There's not a spread for that. I don't know. Maybe I'll make one. You're probably useless. Nobody's going to get that question, so probably not. Anyway, so yeah, look at the layers of a question and don't just treat the question as a basic question, right? Look at the layers, follow-up questions, follow the path, because people are leading you on a pathway when they ask you a question, and you need to follow the path. You can't just skip to the end, right? It's not like a book, right? You can't go skip to the end of the book, open up the last 20 pages and figure out what was the ending. You don't want to do that, because that doesn't really help anybody. You want to follow the path from start to finish. And again, you see the reflection of this with an interview job. Apply for the job, interviews. So when do you start? What kind of environment is it when I start? Is this going to be temporary? It's going to be long-term. So anyway, we got to peel back the layers of all questions. Otherwise, you're just going to get into a rut where you're just going to sound the same. And I think that's the biggest problem as a tarot reader, is sounding the same, because you do sound the same. When am I going to get the job? August. Next person. When am I going to get this other job? September. All right. You sound the same. And again, we're talking about, let's skip to the end, about how deep and how inherently risky do you want to go. So if they don't get a job in August, they don't get a job in September. You got to kind of be realistic with this and go forth and be kind of in the middle there. So let's look at feelings for me. This normally comes up as something that, do they have feelings for me? What kind of feelings do they have for me? A lot of times you'll get the same question. So they'll donate once and they'll be, does Fred have feelings for me? And then the next question is, can Fred be my boyfriend in the near future? Right. So the weird part about that is sometimes you get it in reverse. Like sometimes it'll come in reversed. Bella girl, welcome. Good to see you again. Been a minute, but yeah, sometimes you get it reversed. So the first question will be, is Fred going to be my boyfriend in the near future? And you get really crap cards, right? 8 of Swords, 7 of Wands, 3 of Swords, Death. You're like, yeah, not really. And then you get, does Fred like me? But I just answered that in a more deeper level, but I just answered that. So you get that unusual question sequence sometimes. Anyway, feelings for me, very popular, very like every other questions. What are their feelings? What are this person's feelings? What kind of feelings do they have? Right. At this point, you got to figure out, is this a person that you just met? So let's say I just met them. I just ran into them, right? I just ran into them at the store. I'm like, hello, what's going on? They're like, hey, they smiled at me. And, what are their feelings for me? Because they're at the store every day, the same time I am. So, hey, if they like me, if they have feelings for me, maybe I'll make a move. Maybe I'll say hello again, whatnot. So is it that relationship? Or is it somebody I was married to for 20 years? We got divorced. And now I'm like, I could use that relationship again. I'm kind of lonely or whatever. So the vast gamut in between that, those two extremes too. So you got to kind of figure out where you're at again. So making questions easier, getting more information, absolutely the number one thing, but also getting a context for why they're asking, what they're asking about. You could have a work person. Would they have feelings for me? Could be a work person that I work with every day. And I don't know if they like me or not. Sometimes they don't, sometimes people aren't asking romance. They want to know if my boss likes me. What are my boss's feelings for me? Do they like me? Do they think I suck? What are my job performance? So, and sometimes they'll just come across as, so you can't expect every querent to be super specific about everything. I think that's unrealistic. Some people just don't want to type it, or they got, the baby's crying in the background, something's burning on the stove. They just donated, a couple of bucks. They got 2 seconds to type something. What are Mark's feelings for me? And then I got to go do something else. The reality is Mark is a coworker, and they just met Mark. Mark's married, but Mark seems to be kind of interested. So again, you could be in a situation where you can't expect the querent to sort of be super duper detailed all the time. And a lot of times if you're on a stream or somebody emails you a question, you can't really email them back. You know what I'm saying? So you have to go with what you got. So feelings for me at a high level. 8 of Swords, I'm restricted from expressing feelings, right? The 8 of Swords up there, I'm sort of restricted. This is not something I can do right now. It's not something I can handle right now. And you do have that a lot in feelings with restriction cards. So maybe Hanged Man. I don't feel the same as you do, right? Or 2 of Swords. I don't really feel the same as you do. I feel things, I like you, but I feel the same way. And you have maybe a friendship card, a 6 of Cups. 6 of Cups is sort of a friendly, maybe a family, friends, right? Maybe a 3 of Cups. We're buddies. We're friends. We're not like in romance or something like that. So I like you. You're nice. I think you're really great, but you're not my type. Or I'm in a relationship, but I never really said anything because it's work. And why am I going to be telling all my workmates that I'm in a relationship? There's none of their business, right? So you could get in that situation too. So when you see a 2 of Cups, lovers, things like that, you're going to go down a different path than 2 of Swords. I have a different opinion. I have a different feelings than you do. Also restriction cards, 8 of Swords. I'm restricted. I can't get out of these binds, right? And so I'm restricted from expressing my feelings. Why could that be? Because I like you, but the last time I expressed feelings for somebody at work, they turned me in. Right? They called HR when we broke up. So I really hesitant about making that action. So I have restriction cards, 8 of Swords. The lovers, always a great thing with they have feelings for me, right? 7 of Cups. That's a good question, Bella girl. 7 of Cups means a lot of things in a lot of different contexts. 7 of Cups by itself, do they have feelings for me? Sort of points to, because it is an illusion, right? It is an illusion. So again, I think with all things tarot, you kind of got to look at other things around it, right? So 7 of Cups could be an illusion. it looks like they have feelings for me, but maybe they just don't, right? Maybe they just don't have the feelings for me that I would expect them to have and whatnot. So yeah, 3 to 7. We have more of a friendly card over here. Hanged Man, I have different feelings. Lovers, always a good thing. And you'll have delay cards as well. Let's sort of go solo here. There we go. You have delay cards as well. So with feelings for me, maybe a 4 of Swords. This is something that I do have feelings, but I need to wait. I need to pause. I need to be delayed with this. And there could be a lot of things, right? I'm wrapping up a relationship. Okay, I got a divorce. Yeah, it could be a player. Exactly. It could be a player. It could be somebody has too many options to where they're just numb over feelings. They don't really have any feelings. They just hook up, right? So you see this with like a super attractive person, just likes to be a player, right? So they'll come around and they'll be like, so a super attractive person that's a player is kind of a problem in itself because they'll come around and they'll have you as a backup, right? So you'll be a backup. So a super attractive person maybe have a lot of people on backup, and they'll be like, I want you over here as a backup because 4 a.m. I'm drunk. I can call Sarah, whatever, and maybe Sarah has an option, right? And if Sarah doesn't work out, I have Rachel, or I have this person, whatever. So you could have a player with a lot of different options, indeed, a lot of backups, a lot of, I'm going to go through my phone list one by one until I find the person that's going to hook up with me. I'm drunk, I'm ready for a hookup, kind of thing. Anyway, 4 of Swords talks about maybe it's a delay. Maybe there's not right now. And you have a lot of cards that are just not right now, right? Feelings for me with a 10 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles is fantastic. Lovers, always a good thing. A 3, maybe let's be friends. And you see that with maybe a 6 of Cups and a 3, right? It depends on the context. But maybe I just want to be friends. I just want to be sort of a cordial, social. A 3, again, could be a player. I could have the 3 with this. You could be cheating on somebody. A lot of options, be a player, whatnot. Death card, Hanged Man. I don't have the same feelings as you. So different kind of context with that. All right. So that kind of goes with the feelings for me. 7 of Wands, any defensive cards is like, I just don't want to do what you want to do. Right. 3 of Swords. I'm a heartbreak waiting to happen. Maybe this is not something we want to do. Anyway, so let's talk about legalities now. Legalities are a problem because I don't care how many times you say entertainment purposes only. If you give somebody direct medical advice, you could get banned off of YouTube. And the person may say, hey, I fully understand that this is entertainment, that this is not medical advice. I can say that all day. But if I start telling people they got COVID or something that's a hot topic, right? COVID or giving people medical advice, be like, don't go to that doctor anymore. Just take these pills instead. This is an herbal remedy. And then the person has cancer and then the person's in the hospital. You could be held liable. Again, I don't care how many times you say entertainment purposes only. And that's a lot of why people will avoid hot topics. You'll go to a tarot channel. They'll say no health, no money, right? Because those are the big things. No health, no money. And I think that's the problem is exactly. So, but you do have other aspects too, right? Like legal ramifications for going to court. So I'm going to court. I'm representing myself. It turns out that I shot some fireworks up and it landed on some guy's roof and it caught the house on fire or something like, do I need legal representation or something like that? Is a question like that needs to be reworded. And I'm just desperately asking you, desperately selling you. It needs to be reworded into something general. Because let's go back to the final slide again, because we can't see that enough. If you're going down in the mud over here and you're going inherently risky right here, when somebody says, I shot a firework up, it caught a dude's house on fire, what should I do? Should I seek legal help? And you go very specific. You say, look, you need to go see the judge, talk to him directly. Tiara, thank you for your donation. Tiara, I'm going to get your question in the live stream, which is going to be in an hour and a half. Tiara, tune in an hour and a half. I'm going to get the question there. Right now, it is just teaching. But Tiara, thank you. You're the first one on the stream tonight. If you go detailed with something like that, with a legal question, you're going to have a lot of problems, right? You're going to have a lot of problems with that. So you want to avoid that kind of thing, right? You want to avoid anything that's going to be legal advice. And again, I'm saying, Tiara, it's not a problem at all. Thank you for your early donation. I appreciate it. So it's more of a thing if I pay somebody to answer the question and they have a degree and they have all of this other stuff, you really, really need to avoid taking their job away. That includes a doctor, lawyer, financial planner, a counselor, anybody that gets paid to give you advice. You don't want to take their place. And you want to make that known. You want to say, look, you need to go see this person. Second thing you need to do is go way, way high level. That's not the time you want to get into the weeds. You want to get up the clouds. You want to go too generic. I think the cards are telling me that there is some good luck coming from this particular sort of legal situation. There's some good things coming from this, right? And again, I'm not going to tell you what it is. They may come back and ask what it is, but you're like, look, I got to make this more generic. And so you basically got to avoid any of that stuff. So make it generic. Number one advice, make it generic. Number two, tell them to go find somebody and pay them. So lawyer, chiropractor, doctor, go hire somebody, right? You give them that direct advice. So if a lawyer comes around later and sees you telling them to go see a damn doctor, and then you give a very generic reading, then I think that's going to be a lot better for you not getting sued. Basically, obviously not this. We live in a litigious society, but not everybody is going to sue you, especially if you know the person. This is a client you've seen 20 times or whatever. Also a thing, if you are doing a phone reading, what you need to do is you need to record it and tell them, I'm recording this reading and I'm going to send you the file once we're done. So you don't have to take notes and you have a recording of everything that we said. That does two things. It's a great convenience for them because a lot of times people are getting readings, they're frantically taking notes. They're not focusing on what you're saying. They're just taking the notes. You can just relax. I'm going to give you an audio recording after the reading is over. And I think that's what you need to do on all private readings because that gives you the documentation that says, this is what I said. So it's not he said, she said, I went to this person and they told me to stop taking all the pills, not to go to the chemo and just to take these other pills. And that's not what you said. So, but if you had it, now you have it documented because you gave them the audio recording, right? Sarah, welcome. Good to see you. So that is my advice on any big, hard question reading. And you'll get those. You will get those. Another thing to avoid is anything that could incite violence. Is Fred cheating on me? Damn right he's cheating on you. He's sleeping with her right now. In fact, they're in bed together right now. You need to hang up and you need to go check it out. You need to go visit them and see what's going on over there. Anything that incites violence is going to be bad. And again, we'll get banned off YouTube for inciting violence. You don't want to do that, right? You need to do this. You need to do that. In general, tarot, you want to avoid you need to do. You want to give sort of a context. You want to make them understand the situation. And then they're going to make their own decisions. I think sort of telling people what to do is a little bit overrated in tarot, especially anything that incites violence. They're definitely cheating on you. I mean, I'm guilty of saying that occasionally, but, you just want to kind of avoid that. You want to kind of say, well, they've been looking. It looks like maybe they're talking or something like that. Entertainment purposes only, blah, 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 blah. But make sure you don't want to just incite them and just get them really worked up. It's not going to be a good thing for you. Not going to be a good thing for them. I don't care how many 7 of Swords, 3 of Cups, 3 of Swords, 7 of Cups you got. you just don't want to, you don't want to directly go in and say, yeah, they're screwing this person and that person too. On Wednesday, they're screwing this one. And on Friday, they're screwing another one. Anything that makes people lose money, they're going to be pissed. They're going to be pissed, especially houses. Right now, like a run-down, nasty-looking house is like $500,000, right? So when people start talking about buying a house, you need to be so careful because that's your biggest thing you're ever going to invest in your life is going to be buying a house, especially now. So you want to definitely entertainment purposes only. You want to give them the good parts of the house, the bad parts of the house and whatnot. And, sort of give them that, right? Second biggest investment is going to be a car. Should I buy this car? Should I buy that car? Should I buy a car? Right? I don't have enough money. Do you think I'm going to get the money to buy the car? Do you think I'm going to be able to afford the car? And again, you got to treat this lightly, entertainment purposes only, and sort of, again, go back to a little bit of, finances, a little bit of a higher level. Finances are looking pretty good for you this year, But again, I wouldn't directly say buy it or don't buy it, have a tarot throwdown and say, here's the benefits of buying a car. Here's the disadvantages of buying a car too. You want to even those out. So I have both levels to look at and whatnot. Anything losing money. When you're going with something with gambling, you got to be especially careful too. Health, we'll talk about that in a minute. Gambling, you got to be especially careful and say, look, here are probably your best games. If you're going to be gambling anyway, here are the games that are most likely going to make you more money than not. And then you got to put in entertainment purposes only. I would not spend a lot of money. You're going to lose money. I'll say that almost all my gambling readings, you're going to lose money because it's gambling. If people walked in and everybody made money in the casino, then the casino would close, right? The reason the casino's open, the reason it looks really nice in there is because everybody loses. And you are going to be the next one to lose. So have your spending set up. Do not spend over your spending limit, what have you. Make sure you can afford to do that. All the reasonable stuff, right? 5 of Pentacles, you're going to lose money. 7 of Pentacles, gambling is going to make us some money. 4 of Pentacles, hang on to what you got and definitely limit your exposure to loss, kind of thing with that. Health is the other one. We just kind of discussed it. Health is a tough ass question because there's so many layers. There's so many layers to this. What if they are seeing a doctor? They're seeing a doctor right now. They just saw one today. And now they just kind of want a little bit of information at this point. They're like, hey, I'm seeing a doctor. I'm getting my chemo. I'm getting my cancer treatments. Am I going to get better? Right? Am I going to get better? That's a pretty nice one. That's a pretty nice one. Now I can get a little farther into the weeds, right? Because we've already covered the bases. Go see a doctor. Oh, they did that. Go get some treatments. Oh, they're doing that too, right? So you're not replacing those integral parts of the reading. Instead, you are adding to it. And when you're adding to it, that's going to be a very valuable thing to have with tough questions. If I'm adding to the treatment, I'm giving you a little bit of perspective of the treatment. But I have people come in to the stream and they're like, hey, I'm not seeing a doctor. What was one? It was like, I'm not seeing a doctor. I'm violently ill. I can't afford to see a doctor. What should I do? And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to read that. Do you have another question? There's literally no way. I don't care how generic I go with that, because you're cornering me into this corner over here where I have to give medical advice. I'm going to get banned off YouTube giving you medical advice, right? I'm just going to get banned. People permanently banned, permanently demonetized off YouTube at a minimum. That's going to happen. Second problem is you can come back and say, this person suggested this treatment. And that's a problem. In health, a lot of times we'll have tarot and the body. So you go look at that, tarot and the body. If I can come up with maybe a body part, or somebody, like I've seen a doctor, sometimes you can come up with like a body part that needs to be looked at, or maybe it says like diet, right? You have a lot of greens, you have people eating in some decks. So maybe diet, maybe liquids, maybe something like that. So if you get something generic, right, like drink more liquids, that's a little too generic, but you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Nine of Swords, we're very concerned about this. This is on our mind. Death card, stuff like that. And that's kind of what I want to discuss next, right? Is death, real death. Because a lot of people have real issues with death. You get real issues with death. Grandma needs 24-hour medical care. 24-hour medical care. It's costing us 10 grand a month, right? 10 grand a month. Grandma needs 24-hour medical care. What's going to happen? What's going to happen, right? Because it's just, you're devastating us financially, it's devastating us, and death as well. But you do have easier death questions like grandma's already passed. What is grandma's messages to me? That's a simple one. But real death, like again, I had a girl come to me. She said, I have 6 months to live. I have a terminal illness. And what does the tarot say about what I need to do to prepare the family for this, right? Because she's going to be gone. She takes care of some of the family. She's one of the money earners for the family. The family's like real tight knit. She needs to prepare the family for this. She also wanted to pay for all the expenses so the family wasn't burdened with it. So, when you're talking about death, you do get real. Those are the hardest questions. Okay. So when is so-and-so going to die? Grandma's violently sick. Is she going to be okay? Even if you do pull a 10 of swords, a death card, a devil card, like you can't really say they're going to die. Yeah, I would say August, right? They're going to die in August. I mean, I guess you could say that, but you really got to be careful about how you treat death, because death is a big thing, especially if you're telling people they're going to die. Right. It's just not recommended. I've seen some people do it and I've been forced to do it sometimes myself, but don't get backed into that corner where you have to answer directly on a question again. It could be a problem and come back to haunt you. No pun intended. So yeah, you have a lot of questions, a lot of tough questions, and you have to deal with them in the right way. 1, don't get banned off YouTube. 2, don't get sued. 3, don't get pushed into a corner where you have to answer the tough question. And 4, if you're uncomfortable with it, pass, right? The $2, the $5, the private reading, just reword it. Can you reword the question for me? Or is it okay if I reword this question? And a lot of times I'll turn it into a general reading. A general reading is so high level that everybody is good with it. General reading is going to be way up there in the clouds because they don't want to get in the mud, in the weeds with something like a death, with something like, my side hurts. I don't have money to go to a doctor. I don't want, I don't have any money. I'm homeless. Should I buy a car? Is that going to be a good investment for me? Is so-and-so cheating? So, and again, you don't want to get back to this. So there's my 4 pieces of advice. Don't get backed into a corner. Don't get banned off YouTube. Don't get sued. Reword it into a general question and pass. If it's uncomfortable, pass. Don't be afraid to pass. Because a lot of people will be like, what the hell are you doing a general reading? I don't want a general reading. I want to know if grandma's going to die next week, right? I want to know this. This is why I paid you. That's when you say, look, I can't let you back me into a corner. I got to pass. I'm sorry, right? I appreciate it. Let me refund your money. I appreciate, you coming in to see me. You got other people on YouTube that'll be happy to answer your question. But, I'm just sorry. I'm going to have to pass on this. So again, if you have a private reading, make sure it's okay and say, look, let me audio record this for you. And I'm going to give you, so you don't have to take notes. You just listen. You can ask questions. We can interact, and you have a recording, right? That covers you, and it makes a big convenience for them as well. So anybody have any questions before we wrap this up on difficult questions? how do you handle difficult questions? Because there's a lot of them. And I mean, the tough questions. Tough questions are hard to do. Tough questions are hard to read sometimes. And a lot of times you do get in a situation where you're just like, oh, this feels really weird. I don't know if I should do this or not. If it feels weird, go with your intuition and reword it to general, pass on it. But overall, never, ever let anybody push you into a corner that you don't want to be in, especially as a divinatory, person just sort of given a tarot reading, because tarot cards can't get that specific. But the problem is if you're up in the clouds, you do have people that'll pay again and they'll be like, okay, well, you said this, or I want more details. Well, there's no card for, Fred at work hates you, or the ex beat you up, or there's no really cards for that kind of thing that gets down into that level. But you can make it general and you can get a little bit higher level. Anyway, when they ask how someone feels and continually ask why over and over and over when you've answered. Yeah. Life of destiny. Yeah, that's a problem, right? That's always going to be a problem. You're never really going to get around that. You do have follow-up questions are sometimes problematic, because I try to stay up in the clouds, right? I'm up in the clouds. I'm like, well, grandma's moving on to a better place, and grandma's this, and then they'll donate again. They'll be like, when is grandma going to die, for God's sake? So again, don't let them back you into the corner. But yeah, they will continuously ask because they don't like what you said. Anybody that continuously asks the same questions over and over basically doesn't like your answer. It's not the answer they wanted. And they want to pay you to give them the answer they want, right? Because I want to hear that I'm going to get hired at Microsoft next week. So if you tell me no, or if you tell me something super generic, I'm going to give you a little bit more money until you answer the question the way I want it answered. So when you get repeat questions, it's because you gave them an answer they don't want, which is okay. That's not a bad thing. It's just you gave them the answer, right? Do you change your wording? I don't know. Life of destiny, it depends on the person and what they're doing. Overall, if you keep asking me the same question over and over, you want an answer. And I would ask the person directly, what answer are you looking for? I would directly. I'm a little bit blunt, but that's the way I am. I say, what answer are you looking for right now? And they might tell you, right? They might say, well, hey, I really would like to, hear blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, there you go. Anyway, that is the thing for tonight. Thank you for being here. I appreciate this. Again, if you're interested in these every week, where you get to interact with me one-on-one, ask me questions, you get to say, hey, I had this reading last week. I had these cards. What the hell do you think, right? So you can interact with me, and you can have one-on-one time with me every week, every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Link in the description for my Patreon. So you can sign up to be a Patreon and get all that good stuff, plus a lot more. But this has been the Patreon live reading today, and handling tough questions. I will be back in an hour. I'm going to go eat and come back. I'll be back in an hour. I will get Tiara's question first thing when I come back. Thank you for being here. We will see you in an hour.